I was living in what we would call pain tolerance. I know that most people have no idea what it actually feels like to wake up healthy.
Just what's your thesis around health and working out, as for a normal person?
This is what blows everybody's mind.
Most people chase success. Very few are built for what it costs. Faith, capital, discipline, and purpose. Welcome to the Austin Moss Show. This show is sponsored by Capital Collaboration, capitalcollab.com, your expert lending solution. Today's guest is someone I've been watching for a long time. Micah is a high performer in every sense of it. He's a pioneer in online transformation, a fitness model, entrepreneur, the co-founder of Hitch Fit, where he and his wife have helped over 20,000 people across 82 countries transform their bodies and their lives. What makes Micah different isn't just what he built, it's what he's survived. This episode is about discipline, trauma, leadership, and the hidden weight that most people carry in silence. If you're someone chasing success but still fighting something internally, this conversation may be for you.
All right, welcome back. We are on the Austin Moss Show. I'm your host, Austin Moss, and we have an amazing guest. I've been following this guy for a while and seeing his story and him and his wife. And so welcome, Micah. How you doing?
Man, I'm blessed to be here, man. I love what you're doing and excited to jump into this.
I love it. So about the podcast, a little about the podcast, and our viewers and listeners know, but we really try to dive at high achievers, high performing people, but ones with a story, ones that talk real, ones that speak about the truth and what they've really had to go through to get to where they're at. Because I think that gets glossed over too much in the world, and all the media that's out there. It's like, it's all great and fluffy and it sounds nice and maybe it'll help me, and there's few in between that will really dive into the meat and potatoes of like what really helps those entrepreneurs, right? So with that, maybe zoom back down. Let's hear, who's Micah? Where's your story? What are you doing now? And just a little bit about, who's Micah?
Yeah, so Pain to Purpose Stories is like I love storytelling. I love seeing people's journeys go from maybe a rough place and people who can get there, and then sharing an entire story. As an entrepreneur, I know that like people want that end result, but they have no idea how in the world someone got there or what they had to go through, the trenches, the swamps that they had to go through to get there. And so, I love being able to share my story, share other people's stories as well. And my story, it's a pretty brutal first 18 years. It was my mom and I, we moved 30 times in 18 years, a lot of abuse. I witnessed a lot of stuff, went through a lot of stuff that really no child should have to go through. And you're left at the end of that going, I have two paths in life here. Do I want to continue on the path that I'm on, which there's going to be a lot of darkness, there's going to be a lot of destruction. Do I replicate what I witnessed and what I went through, or do I carve a different path, and one that maybe I've never witnessed in my life or never been a part of in my life? And fortunately, I chose that path. So.
And how old are you when all this is going on? At 18, you kind of had to make these decisions?
At 18, I had to make these decisions. Yeah. And that's when we really get into adulthood, usually, is when we're transitioning from living at home. I ended up going to college, and in college, I made a decision that really would change the whole trajectory of my life. And it came in the form of dumbbells and chicken breast. And, it's a funny line to say, but at the time, the reality of the situation was I was really depressed. I was dealing with an extreme amount of anxiety. I was dying inside, but nobody knew. And as a guy, it was very difficult. The thought of ever sharing the stuff I went through was just, it was impossible. Mm-hmm. When you carry that shame and that pain, it's impossible. And so I think God gave me a lifeline and something that I could hold on to that really we now know is one of the biggest resources to feeling and helping combat things like anxiety and depression. And so I became every day just working out this disciplined lifestyle that at the time was serving me for very different reasons. And then later on, now it's a part of my life and what I try to teach with other people. But to go back, because it's important, those first 18 years, without what I went through, I wouldn't be as perfectly positioned to help the person I once was without going through that. So sometimes, like when you're a child and your brain is still developing, you don't understand. You create things like disassociation, things where you're in this survival mode of trying to make it another day and making your reality something that it's not. And that, for me, was how I survived through all of that. But on the other side, now I have this story that is going to be able to help a lot of people, and that's kind of what we're stepping into now.
I love that. All through health and fitness. And yeah, I love that. I think everyone finds that your health and fitness in different pockets, right? And they have those, and then it all makes sense at a certain point if you're open to it enough. And you know, it's funny how he puts those things in your life that then fast forward, you can look back and you're like, oh man, I have all the tools I needed to do what my dreams and my goals were aligned into a good path. And so I want to dive into that a little more, like where you were at and like what some of those like decisions that you actually like had to go do, like what were some of those actions when you're 18, 19 that you had to, like, what were some of those big shifts, right? Because you have all this turmoil and all this stuff. How do you just, I'm going to start changing this generational or this, what does that look like? Because it's different at the beginning, I'm sure, as you started learning more, right? So how did that look when you were 18? And then how does that look for you now?
Yeah.
And what's the big differences and what could somebody learn that's like going through some of that and not understanding, why? And maybe something you would tell yourself when you're 18, like, hey, just it's okay, or whatever you're looking at, to when you like look back now, you're like, man, I could have done a little bit better, or done a little bit differently, or, just whatever it would have been for you that you would change back then.
I think the difficult part is at that particular point, you only know what you know. And so when you're in this survival mode and you can't communicate with people about what's really going on, you have a societal stigma that's going on. Men can't get vulnerable. It's a weakness. It's just taught in us and ingrained in us as guys that I'm sitting there and I'm like, who do I talk to? I can't even talk to my best friends, and I love these guys, but just the thought, and I think that's kind of devil's grip on everything as well. It's like, don't ever share. Yet I sit back and look at that pocket of time often, and a part of my healing journey was actually going back to my younger self and what I would actually tell him, at different stages of my life. So the 5-year-old, the 15-year-old, the 18-year-old, and kind of in those pockets of what I would tell, and I think my understanding looking back at it now was just that I had to make the mistakes that I did. I had to really go into it not knowing, because how God delivered it into my life was it was so powerful. So I'll give you an example. I started working out probably for vanity issues. I'm 18. I want more girlfriends. I want to look like the guys on covers of magazines. I want to look like Van Damme. That was kind of a driver. And you
look better than that. So you did that. Yeah, no.
I can't do the splits yet, though, guys.
He is married. Just so
I'm married. But so that was an initial driver and kind of like goals that were there, but they were very surface when you looked at the deeper rooted of what was going on. Mm-hmm. So for me, like, I didn't realize it at the time how when I started working out, what it started to do to actually change my brain and the way that it was working with anxiety. And to go kind of nerdy with you guys. So our bodies are created in a way, and I call them like muscle pharmacies. God was like really nerdy when he created our bodies. So we have what's called a myokine in our muscle. The only way that it's actually released is through the contraction of a muscle. So doing a dumbbell curl, for instance, it will be released into the bloodstream and goes directly through the brain barrier to help combat things like anxiety. At 18, I don't know this. We don't even have this research. It's called a hope molecule. The scientists call it. They did a research out of Australia with over 127,000 people, and they found that working out was 1.5 times more effective than any medication or counseling in the world. and it's almost instant. Within weeks, you're feeling better. And you use healthy nutrition as well. So I didn't realize what was going on. I just knew I was feeling better. And not that I'm against medication at time for people that need that, and counseling can be a very effective thing too. But at 18, I'm not going to do either one of those.
Right.
Right. And God, I think, knew that. And so I start working out. Well, I start feeling better. And then that pain started turning into purpose. And I start having some friends that are like, dude, you're really into this stuff. Teach me more about protein and teach me more about working out and all these styles. Because I was spending more time, guys, just honestly. I majored in marketing, but like I spent more time on working out, transformation, bodybuilding than my school by like tenfold. I loved it.
Like an athlete.
Yeah,
athlete,
I loved it. I loved it. And so being able to kind of utilize what I was learning to help other people became a purpose for me. It gave me a reason to continue going forward. And then that obviously grew to everything. So my big foundation and my big why was just like, I want to help as many human beings as I can while I'm still on this earth.
I love that. I think the one thing I would push back on of everything you said, I agree with everything you said. I think the one thing I'd push back on is you say stuff like, I didn't have anyone. I couldn't talk to anyone. But you did mention it's a mind game, right? It's a mental game. I think to that point, I don't know if you guys have kids or what, but like talking to that 17, 18-year-old, because there are things, and granted, like when we were younger, when we were in high school, there was not near the emphasis on mental health and just community and stuff. But like, I was the same way. Right. I was the same way, 17, 18, 19, just felt like, people wouldn't understand, or I was scared or fearful of what they thought, or it's a little off the beaten path. Yeah. And you just get ingrained that you have to be perfect, but it's like, no. And I think, so I push back on that to say like, there are places for most people. It's just the fear mostly.
Yeah. And that's my whole point.
Yeah.
I'm encouraging every man that's watching this that's dealing with shame, specifically shame. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about pain. I'm talking about shame.
Yeah.
Shame is the number one thing that holds people back. And we know this from a research standpoint. We're connected to many of the big research centers in the U.S. It just completely constricts you from being able to. I encourage any man to go get help and talk to somebody who they trust, that would respond in a way that would be helpful for that man, or just a space to be able to listen. What I'm saying is in your mind, when you're carrying shame, it feels impossible. You are literally at a point where you would rather like jump off of a bridge than actually share that story. Right. That's what I'm talking about when you're in that space. Yeah. And then at 18, the brain's still not fully developed. So you're going, I'm fearful. What are people going to think of me? The judgment side, and looking back at it now, man, I wish I would have been able to share. But I was just the statistic that every man is struggling with, which is 85% of men can't say a word.
Yeah. So you had that health and that working out as almost a backstop, almost like a crutch to get you through till you could figure it out.
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Interesting. So talk to me more about, okay, so we talked about that, your young age. Where are you at now? What are you guys working on right now?
Oh, man,
because we'll get into the middle pieces, but I think, it's just so exciting. I'm seeing all this media stuff, and you're on magazines and, like all that world. Because I think it's important to talk about, like, from where you're at, like, what did that all transition? Was that worth it? Like, working out over taking a pill is more work, right? There's more effort. There's more diligence. There's a lot of things that come with it. And I get it. It makes sense to me why, it's so much more effective, because you tap into so much more. Right. So maybe talking through that, like how do you help people now, and I think what's the number? It was like 700 and some, or how many?
We're over 750,000 pounds.
750,000 pounds. I saw that. I'm like, that's
I'm going to have to go back
weight.
a little bit to be able to share this story exactly. But ultimately, I was a pioneer in the online personal training space. I started it off this amazing platform called MySpace. And if anyone that is watching remembers MySpace, you had the music, but it was really before social media marketing became like a serious thing. Mm-hmm. And so this is mid 2000s. and it was 2005, 2006 in that range. And I'm starting to get into the fitness modeling world at the same time. So I had started that really in like 2002, 2003. So this is the magazines, TV, and stuff like that. So to go back a little bit deeper into the 18-year-old me, I didn't turn to drugs and alcohol and things like that as a way to cope. Pornography, I wasn't struggling with any of that. I used accolades and success. I engulfed myself in trying to achieve as a way of protection and a shield. And so that kind of gives a little bit of understanding of why I was so driven early. I was driven off of pain. My fire in my body was the pain and the shame I was holding, and it was just a protection. So every cover, every TV thing I did or whatnot was really derived from something that happened years before.
Yeah.
So I'm 20, 21, 22. I'm at this gym, and one of my still good friends now, he wasn't a friend at that point, he comes up to me, he's like, you need to be a fitness model. And I'm like, what's a fitness model? And he's like the dudes on covers of magazines, Muscle and Fitness and Iron Man and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm going to be a fitness model. And this is Kansas City in 2001. Like, there's no fitness. We have great barbecue, great people, great football, but fitness modeling was not a thing. And I was like, I'm going to be a fitness model. And sure enough, I mean, like 2 years later, I'm on a cover of a fitness magazine. But I was using the power of social media marketing. So at the same time I was building my own personality with the fitness space, I also had this deep passion and desire for transformation. And so I came up with this idea because I was kind of limited. I knew I was limited to just my time with one-on-one training. And I was like, what if I could just work with people all over the world and just make them plans? And, you know, I'm building a pretty big network here. What if I did that? And ultimately that's what I did. And we built it to 82 countries and over 20,000 clients and 750,000 pounds from the attic of a house and having nothing.
Yeah.
And I met my wife in 2008, and we started Hitch Fit in 2009.
And what's her, is she very like background of health and fitness and stuff too?
She's a replica of me when it comes to, I mean, when I met her, she always lets people know if she was here right now, she'd go, yeah, you won a world championship, but I won 2, you know, like our fitness language was on point. We knew each other to the core, which would be kind of extreme for a lot of people with nutrition and the workouts and early mornings and that lifestyle, but it was necessary for our relationship. And, you know, and then it worked really well with the business and everything that we were doing there. Not only walking the walk, but talking the talk too. And so, yeah, she was a very pivotal point of my healing as well. You know, she came into my life at a time where I had kind of fallen away from my faith walk. And I kind of knew when I met her who she was and who she was from. And it hit me. And we were in Las Vegas of all places. You know, I'm like, I didn't go to Las Vegas to find a wife.
At a show?
At a big fitness expo, the Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
And it was amazing. But, you know, looking back at that, we just had a conversation the other day. And I said, do you remember? I mean, it was so simple, but we flash back to that point and how exciting that part of life is. And life is very exciting now too, but for different reasons. Because we were going into like a great unknown. There wasn't really anyone before us that had done it. And we're like, we're going to go do it. Let's just go do it. And both her and I are kind of driven that way where we go at the beat of our own drum. We're not really in the group of people that are kind of doing the stuff that sounds more traditional. And we were like, all right, we're going to go create this thing and see what we can do out of an attic with hardly any money. And then fast forward to all these years and 16 years. I mean, it's been incredible. Wow.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on that because I'm like, you know, when you made that switch over, right? Because you're running hard, trying to self-soothe through affirmation, through public, you know, persona and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden was there a gap in between there, or did it really start with her? Of, you know, did that pull you away, right? Because I could see that pulling people away, you know, or at the same time, did that give you that allowance to then move into your purpose, right? When did that transition happen?
My wife gave me safety, which was really important with my healing, but my healing journey really didn't happen until it's been 9 years ago.
Okay.
So we've been together since 2008, and I was living in what we would call pain tolerance. So the accolades, I'm still driven off of that. It had started shifting a little bit where I was getting so much joy out of taking someone through transformation that I was almost transforming myself at the same time. It was a skill that I knew I was very good at. I always tell people, one of my biggest superpowers was brainwashing people into believing in themselves. I knew that if I could get one-on-one with somebody that I could help transform their life. But at the same time, being completely, honest and authentic about it, I was still struggling with the idea of ever going deep. And the only way to get to freedom was to actually go heal the wounds that were locked up. And that to me was kind of the, my wife didn't push that. I was really open with her about everything, but I was like, I'm not going to go public with this, like there's no way, like, why would I do that? Everything's good. We're successful. We're doing all these things. And then, that took a different turn.
What made you do that? What was that triggering point to go from, because I've been there, I think a lot of people have, and I think the Mecca, the level up comes after this decision of when you can get from protecting your ego to using that to make an impact.
I think that the drive was always there to make impact, but I knew I couldn't make as much impact with my current self at that point, because I believe you can only go as far as you've been when it comes to your own healing. So let's see, it's been 9 years now. 9 years ago, we were at a Carrie Job concert. We got invited from a friend, and his daughter invited us, and she's singing this song called Forever. And I'm sitting there, and we're, it's at a church, and I'm just listening and, thankful to be there and whatnot. And all of a sudden, man, I mean, I am like trying to hide it, but I can't hide it. And I am like just bawling and uncontrollably. And, as a believer, believers will understand what I'm saying with this. Like, Holy Spirit comes on me in a way like I had never felt in my life. Like, I almost like collapsed. I was like, what is going on? It kind of scared me. And I had two visions. The first vision was to go see our kids in Haiti. We've sponsored a school of kids, over 80 kids in Haiti for 12 years now. And, the second vision was to share my story publicly. I was on like a stage sharing, and I was like, dude, God, I ain't doing that one. Like, I am not doing that one. And ultimately, that's when the journey kind of began, and what is now the Breaker mission is what we're getting into next. And that calling, but it was 7 years of like insane healing to get to a point where I knew that no matter who I was with, either one-on-one or a group, that I could talk into a man in a way that was authentic, and that he could understand that I understand him and I see him,
Yeah. And that's a lot of all it takes, is just the openness on both sides, and the power that comes behind that is like life changes. It's crazy. I want to dive into more on the fitness side. So me personally, diets and all that, like, so you'll hate me for this, but you probably won't hate me, but you'll be like, dude, we'll do some stuff together. So I went on carnivore like 18 months ago, lost like 60 pounds. Like, congrats, have not worked out at all. Like, and I know I'm missing a lot of the, like, I've done push-ups to the, but it's like I'm missing some of that stuff, but I'm getting a lot through some of the same methodology, I think, that we're talking about here, is like diluting yourself down, open yourself up to like where I need to move and pivot and make changes, right? So talking about health though, like, just what's your thesis around health and working out, as for a normal person, right? That's, somebody that's like busy, like entrepreneurs and, they just don't focus on it. Like, how do you coach those guys?
Entrepreneurs are the easiest, in my opinion. They have the craziest schedules, but they're the easiest to talk to, because most entrepreneurs are thinking about one of two things usually. Bottom line, and can I increase revenue, and how much impact I can make. You have impact-driven entrepreneurs. You have ones that are focused more on the money side of things. And so I say something that is undebatable. A better version of you is going to produce more result at the end of the day. So someone being overweight and in bondage of food, not working out, not getting the endorphins, walks into a room, doesn't feel confident with who he is when he has to step on stage because he's thinking about if his button is going to pop off or whatever it may be. Like all those sorts of things come into play from a psychological standpoint of leadership. Like it trickles all the way down. So if you get a leader who has that discipline, that spirit of discipline, and then really leads from a mentor standpoint and mentoring. I've seen over the years mentor or entrepreneur after entrepreneur, just literally like the impact and the revenues and the profits are just, they skyrocket because I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, you're not eating well every single day. You're not working out and you're producing really well. Imagine if we took 1 hour a day. And it's why a lot of the top guys, the top women, they make it such a priority to, hey, when I wake up, I do a little bit of cardio, I do my workout, whatever it is, and then I start my day because they understand from a productivity standpoint, a confidence standpoint, some of the, most successful people in the world, they're working out. They understand from a neurological standpoint what is going on in their body, and they just produce better result when they are healthier. Mm-hmm. And so entrepreneurs are really... And then I start getting into with entrepreneurs, because one thing that I see a lot with entrepreneurs is when I look at the pillars of life, if we're looking at like family, faith, health and finances, and let's say the fifth one is fun or something like that. A lot of the times they're focusing so much on the pillar of business and finance and the financial side of things that they're limiting their relationship with their wife, their kids. They're not capable of doing that. They're going, well, I'm serving in a way of producing so that we can have food on the table and have all these nice things, where I'm trying to bring more, not perfect balance. There'll always be some level of imbalance, but a healthier version of this guy or this woman in a way that they understand the order of going, hey man, your relationship at home is even more important than the relationship you have at your work. And how that will trickle down to generational, not only generational wealth, but what I like to say even more, which is generational health. Mm-hmm. You teaching your children these principles and these disciplines that will set them up for a stronger life. It just will.
And how do you view, because I think that's important, how do you view health from not just the physical side? And how do you get into that with guys and girls, right? I mean, I see it. That's where I see most. Like what you said was like, I see that. Like I see those pillars and I see 90% of the effort being applied to the business and the money and that side and the high frequency, like out in the world. And then 10% allocated across everything else. And I think a lot of people, they can be successful in all those areas, but to a degree and for a period of time. Yeah. And I think that at a certain point or at a certain level that all crumbles down eventually. Right. And so maybe a story of someone, one of these people you worked with. Yeah. Like, I think that'd be really cool to dive into like one of those stories of like how you got them out of that mindset. Cause it's not just a wanting to work out, right? And wanting to be in better shape. It may start that way, but what do you work on with them that's even more important than fixes a lot of their stuff that they don't know needed fixed? Yeah. Right. And I know there's a bunch of that, but yeah, what's one of those?
So what I know about humans is we're very similar, no matter what. Like we're all busy. So I first off, and I'll get into the story here in a second, but there's two main things that I would tell every single person. Number one, create a big enough why or multiple whys that you won't quit. Whys that are so large and heavy that you won't quit. And so you show up even on the days you don't feel like it, right? Like if you got to get your kid to soccer practice, like you make it happen no matter what, yet you can't make 30 minutes in your day to go work out. You haven't created a big enough why. The second one, and this one is always kind of fumbles me with entrepreneurs, is our entire day is scheduled out. And so you got to start your day. And this is what I say to most entrepreneurs. Like, I'm not saying to follow exactly what I do, because I wake up insanely early, like at a place where most people
are. What time do you wake up?
3 a.m.
Oh, boy.
Without an alarm.
Oh, boy.
And my schedule, no matter if I'm traveling, so we were in Tulum, Mexico. My schedule is identical every day, no matter where I'm at in the world.
Same times?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because my body is on a clock.
What is that? What is your? Let's
yeah,
dive in.
yeah.
I want to dive into your routine.
Yeah.
And it may scare some people, but this is the thing though. Like I want you to go there because I've just realized recently, like myself, there's things that I've learned that I thought were that's too much for somebody. It's too much for them to handle. Like they're not even at step 1. I'm going to start talking about step 15. But I think it's important to at least plant the seed to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because some people will never get the opportunity to know what that looks like, but they could be, you could have a ripple effect into having another Micah out there,
Yeah.
right? And so I think it's important to go there with like, even if it's a crazy, not so like psychotic deal, how you do it though, too.
Yeah. So this goes way back. So anyone that understands the bodybuilding lifestyle or top athlete type of lifestyle, it's very regimented. And it was also a part of my healing too. So we know now with research with like PTSD, people that are coming home from war or people that dealt with childhood traumas or whatnot, that a really rigid schedule is very, very effective for them in their own therapy. Okay, just as a ground basis of what I'm talking about. When we're talking about, I mean, everybody's gone through some level of trauma, but from a scheduling standpoint, I don't want to scare people off with 3 a.m. because 3 a.m. sounds really like, dude, I'm never going to do that. It's what a lot of people will say right this minute, but my 3 a.m. may be your 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., right? It's just earlier than what your typical, wake up time is what I would encourage people to really look at. So if you're waking up at 6, maybe you start waking up at 4:45. And it's like an hour and 45 minutes, and then you adjust your sleep time where you're going to bed just a little bit earlier. Because sleep is, it's up there with like nutrition. I mean, sleep is really important with chronic stress and stuff like that. So, that is huge. I know I need about 6 hours. If I get 6 hours of sleep, I'm highly effective. If I'm under that, then it's difficult for me. So I don't set an alarm ever. And my body will wake up anywhere between 2:50 and 3:15 on the dot. And it's because I stay regimented with where I'm at. And I'm a very quick rise too. So I wake up like really fast. I'm very excited because my mind is extremely creative in the morning. And so I go into, the first thing that I go into is I don't have my phone anywhere near me either. I don't touch my phone for like an hour and a half. And I get everything ready for the day that I need to. I get into my devotionals. My faith is my number one thing in my life, my foundation. So I get into devotionals and my prayer. At 3 a.m., no one's awake and there's no distractions. So I personally hear the Lord very well during that pocket of time. And then I go either downstairs or I'll go to a gym. We have a gym, or I'll go to another gym, whatnot, and I start doing cardio. So I do fasted cardio every single day. I hop on a Peloton. It's very slow, steady state cardio. I'm not doing high intensity stuff. What I'm doing is I'm trying to increase my overall endorphins and my creativity side of my mind. And that's where I create all social media, is at that pocket of time. So I have about...
While you're working out?
Yes.
Okay.
So I do what's called layering, which I'm doing 2 positives at the same time. And as an entrepreneur, a lot of times we're juggling multiple things at one time. I've just figured out how to do 2 very positive things at the same time, and I'm more effective when my mind is in that state. And so we have 16 different social media networks. I literally do all the copy for every single network every single day.
Wow.
So, and I'm just in that pocket, and I've done it for so long now that it's just, and I'm thinking about people and impact and, storytelling and, and being able to do that. So I do that, and then I go into what I call meal 1. We would call meal 1 in bodybuilding. It's like meal 1. Okay, so that would be breakfast. I end up having breakfast. I usually there'll be 1 or 2 things depending on when like my real part of my day starts. I'll either go back to sleep for about 30 to 45 minutes, and
that's a first.
Yes,
yeah.
I'll actually go back to sleep for 30 to 45 minutes just to rest and come down, and then I'll go strength train. And then I'll get all of that done before I go to the gym to work with clients, or if I have meetings or whatnot. So my day would start at 9 a.m. usually for, just my normal stuff. But from 3 to 9, that is my pocket of time. And then after that strength training, I go into meal 2. I do about 6 meals a day. I do much more balanced unless I'm very specific with like achieving a goal. Like we just did photo shoots in Mexico before a retreat. And so during that time, I do what's called kind of carb cycling. So I'm moving carbs around to get to really low body fat to be able to do photo shoots. So we challenge that. We have a hiking season of the year. I mean, it's when you know your body, you've done it for so long, like it, this is kind of going to go over some people's heads. But when it comes to nutrition, carnivore has been very effective for you. I kind of don't follow a diet. I follow foods and what my body is looking like and feeling like. And so I'm a big believer in sustainability long term, and that to me requires eating healthy carbs, proteins. Proteins need to be a foundational staple. Every meal should have protein in it, and then healthy fats every day, and in pairings that are different for.
What are the healthy carbs that you do?
So like a sweet potato, rice and chicken is like a bodybuilder's meal.
Right.
It's like tons of that. The issue with most people is they don't know how much they're actually eating. And so, if they're like, oh, well, I'm eating this and I'm not losing weight or I'm gaining weight, and they're going, oh, it's because of carbs. And I'm going, no, you're eating too much food comparative to what you're expending. If you actually sat down and wrote every single thing out, you'd realize, oh man, I'm in a surplus of 500 calories over the course of 7 days and I've gained a pound this week. Or yesterday I went and had soy sauce with my sushi and I gained 6 pounds of fluid because of the sodium. Like there's a lot of nerdiness to it. And that's really extreme for a lot of people. But I think the more you understand your body and the more you understand what's going into it, and then the result that you get from that, you'll be like in tune of going, I'm going to have a cheat meal, no problem there. But what I'm not going to do is have a whole bunch of cheat days because I feel miserable. And then I'm getting ready for a big speech and I'm bloated and my mind is not clear and whatnot. And you don't want to go on stage just not feeling your best. So,
So my thing on that, which I maybe just need your help with a little bit, how to do it right and probably get in the gym more, and I know that's a problem, but like for me, I tried keto, right? For a little bit and I did it fine successfully, but then I was just moving so fast with everything we were doing. And I'm like, I need something that's sustainable for me. And sustainable for me was the whole Steve Jobs idea of black shirt, jeans. No, don't think about it. Right. And at the same time that I stopped drinking. So it was like, because I was playing this mental game with like when and how much to drink and how often and all that. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing the same thing with eating. I'm like, I'm trying to do this carnivore this keto macro hyper, like this is way too much for me anyway. So I was like, let me try maybe this carnivore deal. So I tried and it's like for me, for a psycho who's like can eat just beef and ribeyes and chickens and or just like 10 pieces of bacon and call it a day, like, and love that. Like there's some people I think that are weird like that, but for me it allowed me to get that space, right, to start seeing something that, and I knew it's not sustainable. I know it's not sustainable. Like I see it already. Like I have to go. I had Wendy's that I just went and grabbed because I can do just beef patties.
We have a lot to talk about. Man.
Just beef patties.
I don't know if we have enough time today. Beef patties. Is that even beef? I don't even know if that's beef.
I don't think it is, but it's better than going and getting something else quick. But so no, we need to talk. But I love that we're talking about this stuff. Talk about what you're doing now. You know, I want to hear about everything that you're working on now. You got to go back and tell me a story about
and real quick too about nutrition. I want people to understand. I'm not shaming in any sort of way.
Yeah.
I want people to understand that I know that most people have no idea what it actually feels like to wake up healthy.
Yeah.
And that our bodies are created in a way, if we fuel them right and we move more, you are going to feel like a superhero all the time. You very rarely get sick. You very rarely have to go to the hospital. You can go climb a mountain if you want to go climb a mountain. You can be the superhero that you need to be for your kids, for your wife. Like, that's where the fuel of the body comes into. And you're not, people go, oh, well, I don't want to be that strict and I want the freedom to be able to eat what I want when I want. And I'm like, okay, just understand there's a consequence to that.
Right.
That unfortunately is not going to be a good end result. So look at freedom a little bit differently. Freedom is actually not being in bondage of anything, and utilizing things in a way to help yourself become your best self so you can be your best self for everyone else. That's the morning side of things. Then I go into, if I'm in town, which is about 50% of the year I'm in town, we travel the rest of the time. I still go to my gym. and I train clients. I have a very small amount of clients that I work with, but I selfishly just love one-on-one training. And so I still do some of that. And so that's usually a pocket from about 9 to 1. I eat every 2 to 3 hours that I'm awake. And, and one other really general guideline that I would encourage for people who really want to live a more balanced, sustainable type of nutrition plan is kind of eat carbs earlier in the day and trim them off the closer you get to bed. So think of them like as gasoline or the energy source to your body. Fats are as well, but carbs play a different role in the body. And they can, carbs get a really bad rap, but the issue is most people are eating really bad carbs on a regular basis.
Really bad time
or
of the day.
when they eat it.
Yeah.
Or they go, well,
chips at night.
Yes, it's chips. It's, it's all this stuff that they're not going to be able to burn off. They have no chance in burning that off before they go to bed. And then imagine what their sleep is like when they're throwing a whole bunch of sugar down right before bed and whatnot. So I would just be conscious. If you're going to keep some of those things in, just try to do it earlier in the day. It's just that most people aren't drinking wine at 2 p.m. unless they have an issue. They may have an issue, right? And so they're doing it kind of when they're winding down, but people are going to go, oh, well, wine isn't that. Yeah, but if you're doing it every single day and then you're pairing it with foods that aren't the greatest and you're trying to sleep on that, like you have no shot. You have no shot of actually getting really good sleep and being your best version. And so I'm always looking at it like that. I always talk about, being in a bad place, a good place, a great place, and an exceptional place. And each of those take a different requirement of lifestyle to be able to get to those different levels. And a lot of the times I'm starting with people that are in bad spot. So an example of a story, 50 years old, a guy named Rob, a month before I met him for the first time in my gym, he almost died in Mexico from an obesity-related issue. And his wife reached out while they were in Mexico to my wife and was like, I don't want to lose my husband. And we had known each other, personally, but never really talked about any of that. I knew him as he was a barbecue champion. He loved to drink beer. He was he was the life of the party type of guy. He's a great guy. But he stepped in and I knew the story. And I was brutal with him that day. And that's the one thing about me that you'll find out. Like I'm not trying to make a sale. I authentically want someone to transform. And if they're not ready, I'll shake their hand and say, come back to me when you're ready. And that day I told him something that some people couldn't handle, but I knew he could. And I knew he needed to hear it because everybody in his life were yes people. He's the fat, funny guy, which I told him he was. But you're going to be dead in 5 years and your wife didn't sign up for this. And he got emotional and upset, but I didn't care. I was like, he needs to hear it. And if he comes back, he's ready. Fast forward a year and a half, we ended up losing 115 pounds. He stepped on stage and won in a transformation. In the transformation category in Connecticut out of 80 competitors. And the Lord, his daughter was struggling with recovery and whatnot, and him and his wife ended up adopting their grandkids. They started an organization called In the Name of Grace, which helps addicts. He had not had a man in his entire family live over the age of 55 or 60. They all had the same generational health, which was to eat as much as humanly possible, drink a lot of beer, be the funny guy, and then you're no longer here. And so he needed someone like me just speaking truth into him. I had compassion. I loved this man, but he was killing himself. And he was all on board. And those are powerful stories. I have 1,000 of those. Yeah. Literally. And what I know about humans in general is he created a big enough why. He trusted the process and believed me before he believed himself. That happens a lot. But at some point you have to transition from that and really start believing in yourself. So I do something that's really interesting when I would work with one-on-one clients. So I'd get you 60 pounds ago, and I'd get you in front of a mirror. And all I'm doing is I'm seeing if you can actually look at yourself or not. And it tells me everything I need to know about you and how to actually approach you. And so there's all sorts of psychological things that I do when I go through transformation to figure out where someone's at and to help them, because everybody's journey is a little bit different. You can't be super brutal with some type of person, especially if they have a lot of prior trauma work that you have to work with. But someone like Rob, I knew was he needed a bigger why, a reason behind it, and almost like I don't think you can do this, guy. And he was like, I'll show you, so I don't care if he's angry at me initially, because I know what the end result is going to be, and it was amazing.
So that's amazing. And my question I'd want to ask is, where do you get that sense? You have all this dynamics across all your clients, and then you start going online, and that's something maybe we dive in there, because you probably had to learn that. Like, how'd you go at scale? Like, we haven't talked about that. Like, you love this one-on-one, you love you love speaking into people and helping them transform one-on-one, but how did you zoom that out, and how did you guys scale that to do it at scale? So this is not lose.
This is what blows everybody's mind, is we never scaled it. My wife and I worked with every single person. We never hired anyone in that side of the world. We have trainers in our gym, but we never hired anyone. We always did it ourselves.
That is crazy.
So again, this goes back to creating a schedule that I had to get to be able to handle the workload that we had. What me and my wife do, like within all of our businesses, we really operate ourselves. We have some people now that are involved that help quite a bit, but we just knew, and both of our weaknesses early on was like delegation. We were like, I don't want someone to come in and then they do it wrong, and then imagine then a client being upset because they didn't get the result.
Control.
Yes, it is.
AKA control.
Yeah, that's trauma, man. It's just past trauma. And so we both struggled with that. And so for many years, we just like, we're going to operate all of this, this way. And we still do it in the online side of things. And the online side it's evolved quite a bit from where it was 16 years ago. But I'll tell you, I know the stories so well. And I can sit with somebody for like a short amount of time, dig a little bit, and kind of figure out what in the world is going on. And a lot of the times they may not be ready, but a lot of times, like if someone has a food issue, it's always deeper rooted. It's like, in day one may not be the time that we go and try to figure out where that root is, because they just want to look better. They want to feel better. You see a before and after picture, and they're like, I want to be that after picture. But I'm always like, why do you keep yo-yoing over and over and over again? It's a deeper rooted issue that they're having, and we know this. But from a psychological standpoint, when you work with as many people as we have, you just sense things. You see things. You're watching body language. You're doing all sorts of things that get you in the know of how to really work with this person. There's specific questions that you ask that aren't like over personal, but enough where they'll open up. One of the strongest things that you can do from a coach standpoint, a mentor standpoint, is bring in your own vulnerability, and it will bring trust almost automatically. And I think that you should do this anyways. This isn't just like a sales tactic. Like, this is something that, like, especially if it's impact or passion driven, it's like, you get vulnerable yourself and watch what will happen. That man will trust it 1,000%.
I 100% agree there.
And so a lot of the times after I hold the space with them, if they're opening up, then I go into, pieces of my own story or pieces of someone else's story that's similar to theirs. And that really can be a motivator early on, a motivator to eventually get, I create this kind of model that is like, we got to get consistent to create discipline, and discipline plus consistency equals freedom. If you can get consistent with discipline, then freedom's going to happen in whatever pillar of life that you have. It's just most people get comfortable, and growth is not comfortable at all. Change is not comfortable at all. But it's game changing once you get to the other side.
So trainers out there, I mean, I can see it. Like, there's a big disparity between just a trainer at a gym and what you guys do. But I think to help that world, do you guys coach on trainers and coaches? And like, what does that look like? What would you tell that trainer to, like, how can they help deeper? What do you guys do? What do you suggest?
It goes back to what I said before. You can only take someone as far as you've gone. So if a trainer was sitting here and like, man, I'm so good with nutrition and I'm so good with workout, but these people continue to yo-yo and whatnot, then you need to get deeper into your own healing. and that will teach you something that you'll understand more of what this person is actually going through. And that takes deep conversations that are more than, man, how was your weekend? Oh man, the Chiefs are not playing well right now.
Right.
Whatnot. Like it's deep,
cold.
it's deep stuff. Yeah. And guys and women, they're very similar in how they operate. A lot of women are a little bit more open sooner. But again, if you get vulnerable with a guy will open and trust you, and so you can get there either way. It's just understanding what to do with that because there's a difference between coaching, for instance, where coaching is like, you need to eat this at this time and this amount, and here's the workout you need to do and whatnot. That's coaching. When you're also taking someone through like deep transformation or potential healing, like a lot of it is listening and just holding safe spaces for them as they open up. It's not about giving them a solution. So you have to understand when to use that and when not to use that, because it can be actually, it can be negative for them if you're constantly just trying to give them a solution. Well, you need to do X, Y, Z.
Have you ever been married?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, she's right again. She's right. I want a happy life. So it's one of those things that with trainers out there, unfortunately, from the get-go, when we get a certification as a trainer, for instance, or schooling, they're still under the same notion of, I need to retain someone as long as possible. So my goal is to work with you as long as humanly possible, because the risk of me making money is far less, right? I want to sell you 100 sessions, and I know you only need 30, but I'm getting pressure from corporate to sell more sessions. And so if you're in those systems for a long period of time, you realize that your passion starts getting sucked out of you. So it may be where you start, but just know that that's not where you should end. It's someone that's a really passionate trainer, or really any business, really, like, you need to be doing something that you're waking up every day and you love, but is also not stealing joy from you because the system is messed up. And in my opinion, the system is messed up. Now, our model is not easy to replicate, because we do transformation. So most people are only with us like 12 to 16 weeks on average, and then they're done. We're literally like, you've graduated, good luck. If you need us at some point, we're always there, but we're not trying to retain someone.
Right.
We get the satisfaction of teaching someone a true lifestyle. And so that's why when you walk into our walls, we have thousands of images of before and after pictures everywhere through our walls. When someone walks in, we don't run a retention model. There are clients that want to stay longer, and we don't push them out, but we don't push that upon them early on or even through the journey.
You're rewiring them.
That's exactly right. We're teaching them, in our opinion, how it actually should be and what the client really actually wants.
Right.
Which is, I want to look better. I want to feel better. I want to relieve stress. I want to be my best for the people that I love. And so if a trainer doesn't have the ability to be able to do that, then you're really just paying for an hour of their time to go work out. And working out is great, but a lot of the trainers don't even know nutrition to the core. And so, you got to find a trainer that understands the training side of things, which is important, the workout side of things, but also takes the time with you of understanding what your goals are and can they actually get you there.
Yeah, no, I love that. Or we're going to completely pivot. So you're writing a book, and you got so much stuff going on. Tell me about the book. Is this your first book?
It's my first personal book.
Okay.
So my wife is actually the ghostwriter on the book.
There you go.
She was the only one that could actually write the book. My wife has wrote 5 books. So fortunately, I wrote someone. I outkicked my coverage like by a tremendous amount. She's truly gifted in multiple ways. But she was with me from the very get-go of when my healing took place. We tried to hire a ghostwriter actually, and we got through the first edit, and I was like, man, I don't hear my voice at all. And nothing against them. They did a really good job of what they were capable of doing with the material. My wife understood every step and every molecule of it, of what I was going through, because she was the one who created the safe space for me to heal in. So as we were going through this whole entire journey, and she started on the book like 10 years ago, like faintly, like we knew we were going to eventually get into it, but I wasn't ready to heal and go through the stuff yet. And then it was about let's see, 3 years ago, 4 years ago that we like really dove in, knew the book was going to come to life. And that's when the writing started. We're with the publishing company now, and April of next year it'll be out. So we're in pre-launch now, but it has been the single most difficult thing that I've ever done. I won a world championship, and this is harder than that.
Wow.
Yeah. That took a lot of time, but what is involved to make this actually come to life right and correct is it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like how much work is involved, because you got to go through all the healing, and you got to go through all that stuff as well, and then doing it right, of like, okay, if we're going to make the most impact possible, then this has to be done right. And at a level that is more than just, hey, I'm going to self-publish, put it on Amazon, and I hope it does well.
More than just a couple blog posts or something.
Yeah, that's right.
And I see that, and it's probably exhausting too, mentally replaying all this stuff over and over and over, because is it?
We've had to proofread the book like 10 times.
Right, yeah.
So we've read the book so many times, and then there's like, we've had story flow people, we've had editors, we've had whatnot, because you build your rough draft, and you're like, I'm done. You have a few of your close friends that read it, they're like, oh, that's great, man, everything else, but you don't really get the authentic feedback until it goes to someone who doesn't know you.
Mm.
And then going in and creating story flow first, and then the edits of the book, and then what the cover of the book looks like, and then what's the subtitle of the book, what's the title of the book, what's the jacket copy look like. I mean, there's so much involved in every single little detail, and I'm just like, I'm at a point now where I'm excited for it to actually come to life. We have so much leading up to the launch itself that's going to come to life. Some stuff that I unfortunately today cannot talk about, but we have.
Give us a glimpse. Give us some high level preview.
So we have a podcast coming out, but that's been noticed. But something that we have coming up is global platform level. And the timing of when it is happening is, it's only from the Lord, like in my opinion. Like it's unbelievable what's about to happen in our lives. And so I'll be able to share that in January.
Okay.
January 8th is when I can actually share everything. And so early 2026. And so when that comes out, we'll pivot massively into what is to come. We're working on the back end now with everything, and then the book is in place, and some other really cool things are coming in place. But once that comes into place, that will be kind of everything that we've done before with transformation, pain to purpose stories, storytelling, deep-rooted stuff, everything that we've learned, all the clients we've ever worked with, into one platform that is able to, really global presence type of situation. So we're
I'm trying. Yeah,
I'm
trying for you guys.
I can't go any deeper. I want to. They'll kill me if I do say something.
I'll slip something in his drink. We'll get the rest of the story.
Get into my water.
Yeah. So when's the book launch?
April 14th, 2026.
April 14th.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it pre-sale right now?
Yeah, we're in pre-sale right now.
Okay, so you can get it on Amazon?
Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, every major player.
Yeah, so we'll put all that stuff.
TheBreakerMission.com is the website.
The Breaker Mission.
So we have the book, and one thing that's really important is we have a mission behind the book. So it's not just a book that's like, hey, read the book, I hope you get better. Like, we want to build resources for the men and women out there that are struggling in silence still, in a way that, if they want to be, more just not anonymous and they don't want people to know what's going on, or resources where they want communities where they can really be a part of something that other people understand, and really change the entire stigma around vulnerability and shame with men is the ultimate goal. I want to go in and like be a very strong voice in a space that's not talked about right now, and change the entire trajectory of how we handle it right now. And I think that's going to require, and God has really opened some doors to some like major players that I can't talk about yet either. But I get enough of those men next to my side and some of those really strong women, and I think we can go move mountains. And that's what I'm going to go do.
I love it. Let's do it. I'll help you.
Yeah,
Let me
let's
know
do it,
how I
dude.
can help.
Let's do it.
Yeah, because it keeps weighing on me, the lack of community and the lack of the fear around divulging things that you are miserable with, and the fear that nobody else has that same thing. And then and it's like, I've been there on multiple fronts of like, you hold on to this stuff for years, sometimes decades, and then you come to find out it was that simple.
Yeah.
That whole time.
Yeah.
It was that simple. That's all I had to do.
We create the fear in our mind that like snowballs in a way that makes it impossible to talk about. And all it takes is sometimes one dude that sits down with you that understands what's about to happen here, and he just holds your story with you as you're able to open up.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just having the trusted, person. It's just the
person. Man, woman, whatever that is.
That you can sit with and take that risk. It's a risk in your mind, but it's really not. Yeah. And it's like, and it's so powerful when I've seen it from other people and myself, of when you get over that hurdle, like, man, the world opens up to you.
It's a freedom. It's a weight off of you, especially, like you said, if it's been decades. Like, imagine you're trying to climb a mountain with an extra 200 pounds on your back, man.
Right.
Like, that's heavy.
Right.
And you weren't meant to hold that.
Right.
You weren't meant to hold that. And so once that's off of you, and that's why I always go back, you're most perfectly positioned to help the person you once were. Because once that weight is off your back, you get this new, almost this like new anointing, or this new purpose of like, man, I want to help another guy that was like me.
You get appreciation.
Like, we have that
you
in
get
us.
Appreciation for the negative turmoil because of what it now allows you to do.
Yeah. That's right.
I love it.
A purpose that's bigger than ourselves, I think, is ultimately, I think, what we all want. Yeah. We just kind of get stuck in the hamster wheel that we're in of life sometimes. It's like business matters and all these things matter, but at the end of the day, we want more joy, and to be able to give back to help somebody that is truly in need and suffering. I mean, I don't know if there's a greater gift. Kind
of getting into some of the final topics here. Let's dive in. I did want to bring up before we forgot. You got like a pseudonym, or like some like
King of Calves.
Yes. So we got to see.
Yeah.
We got to see. You got jeans on. I don't know if you can pull it out. Don't just pull the calves out. Nothing else. Okay. All right. That is crazy. I moved my leg. Dude, that is nuts. I mean, I've seen a bunch of your photos and stuff. That's nuts, dude. So like you just, I mean, not that the rest of your stuff isn't like all jacked up, but what's the King of Calves deal? Where did that come from?
So about 3 years ago, I'm on Instagram, and I have multiple pages. And one of my pages, Mr. Hitch Fit, I was kind of just doing random stuff on it, some fitness stuff or whatnot. And I woke up one day and I was like, I haven't seen what I think I'm about to go do. And I know there's a problem with this. I know a lot of guys suffer from insecurity with this. And when you walk into a gym, there's a lot of what we call Johnny Bravos.
Yep.
Big upper bodies, and then like they may do some squats, but they're putting calves at the end of a leg day for like 2 sets, okay? Mm-hmm. And they blame genetics. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, because in the fitness world, I was known for calves. It was something that at 18, I had extreme insecurity about. So I was very skinny. I had skinny legs. One of my mom's husbands used to like make fun of my legs. And so again, it came from this like painful place of, chicken legs and look at your tiny little, and so I was like, I'm going to show this guy. And so I started just doing thousands of calf raises, not knowing what I was doing. I also played ball. So jumping and stuff was important to me, and track and whatnot. So I'm doing all these things at this time. And then I get into bodybuilding, and that style of training was very different from performance. And so the name King of Calves is not because I have the biggest calves in the world. It's because I took what I had and went from 13-inch calves to over 19-inch calves.
With some bad genetics for you.
Yeah, so my length and my insertion of a muscle, so we have what's called inserts of a muscle. So how long the muscle is, I actually am gifted with really long calves and good insertions.
How do you figure that out? I've never heard any of those terms.
So like, for instance, like if you looked at like Arnold, for instance. Arnold had really good inserts, especially like with his biceps. His peaks were just like freakish, right? Like me and you could never get peaks like him if our inserts aren't exactly where his were.
Got it.
So usually a shorter muscle when it comes to something like that on a bicep is great for overall peak, whereas a calf top potential, the best calves in the world, their top potential are guys that have inserts and their length of their calf is actually much longer. So like if you look at a calf muscle, the gastrocnemius is kind of the heart shape muscle that's up top. The soleus runs deeper underneath, what I call kind of wings. So closer to your ankle is where the soleus is.
I gotta look.
Yeah.
'Cause people say,
Am I gonna do?
Like, when I golf, they're like,
And this is not weird at all, guys. It's not weird. So
Right.
yeah, you have pretty good insertions, but they're a little higher.
Right.
They're a little higher. You see what I'm saying? So this is your gastrocnemius, and then your soleus comes all the way down here.
Right.
And
that's
so,
not working out, but yeah, that's.
but usually guys that are taller like you are,
Right.
it's hard. Like there's very rare that you have like really long,
like a
calves,
massive
too.
bodybuilder.
Yes.
You don't usually see like 6'6" dudes
because you don't
that are,
see those sorts of dudes.
because
some of
like,
the strong
it's like
men,
everything. It's
but
like
not
it takes
bodybuilders.
so much more.
It does
to get the
Oh
look.
man, because your limbs are so long.
Right.
When you have like a 5'7" guy, like his limbs are shorter, and so putting on more mass, like it,
That's what I was so
it's-
pissed about in basketball practice. 'Cause I'm doing the heavy rope with an extra 3 feet.
You
like
are.
I'm doing everything with an
You
extra
are.
3 feet. Like you don't understand.
You're also
Like,
closer to the rim.
I am closer to the rim, but I can jump a lot, not as near as.
Yeah.
So it all works itself out.
It does.
Right?
It does.
So
I woke up and I created a solution to what I believed was a problem. Okay. And so fast forward 3 years and I built the largest calf focused page in the world on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
so what's the largest? How many followers?
I just hit over 225,000 on Instagram.
calves.
Just on calves. It's hilarious to me. And originally I got to be completely honest, I'm like, okay, dude, I may get some of the wrong crowd looking at this, thinking it's like OnlyFans type thing.
OnlyFans for
and I
calves.
really like it. There was a little bit of that early on, and it really got diffused because I put so much education into what I write as well.
Right.
It's very focused on, and just the educational piece. So one of the biggest myths and one of the biggest lies in the industry from fitness standpoint is that calves are purely genetic. And I'm always like, every muscle is purely genetic.
Right.
Calves in general are just much more resilient than any other muscle group. They are extremely hard and difficult to build, but you can build a muscle bigger if you know what you're doing. You just can't train calves like you would any other muscle group. So triceps or chest, we may do that like once a week or twice a week at the most. Calves, you may train up to 5 or 6 days a week because we're on them all the time. Yeah. So even people like Arnold, even people like Lee Haney and Samson, who just won Mr. Olympia a couple of years ago, they both were lacking in calves. And so they started training calves like 6-7 days a week to build the balance of where their upper body and their biceps were or their arms comparative to their calves. Because in bodybuilding, it's symmetry and balance, right? And getting a head to toe physique. But we're just talking about the aesthetic right now from a standpoint of performance. There's performance that's there. Even more important than that, the calves are known as the second heart of the body. So, your blood comes flowing down. Calves are the purpose of the circulation coming back up.
Because you said something like heart. You said like the heart.
Yeah, the second.
But it looks
when
like
it leans, when it gets leaned down, it looks like the shape of a heart.
Yeah.
And so, it's called the second heart, and so it's an amazing functional thing for your own body as well. So there's more to it than just an aesthetic thing. I touch on all of it, but a lot of it is there. So I took a pain that I went through and I made it into like a massive viral video. It's at the top of my page, 55 million views.
Yeah.
Okay. And I tore a calf and I tell the whole story. I didn't do it in the gym. Didn't happen like trying to save a baby out of a burning fire or something like that. It's not a cool story. We were in Costa Rica. I had trained legs the day before. I was probably slightly dehydrated. I'm walking up a hill with luggage, and I popped my left gastric. And I was like, uh-oh. And then I hopped on a plane the same day. Not good. Not a good idea. I woke up the next day and I literally fell when I got out of the bed, and my calf went from 19 to 21, which initially I was like, whoa, this is cool. Like I got a 21-inch calf, but it was blown up like a balloon. Like I went to the buffet and ate way too much sodium.
Yeah.
And it was blown, it was inflamed. I started gathering blood in my ankle and down, and it was excruciating pain. And at that particular point, I had to make a decision. Like, do I want to go do peptides, something like a BPC 157 for quicker recovery? Do I want, which route do I want to go? I went to a doc. Doc is like, hey, you need to rest. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to rest. I actually believe that movement is medicine. So when it comes to muscle, not tendon, not Achilles, but with muscle itself, we need to get as much blood flow through that muscle that's torn as possible for quicker healing, in my opinion. And and so I documented everything.
Yeah.
And I was able to get a low grade 3 gastric tear, completely recovered, no muscle loss, no strength loss, done in 75 days.
Wow.
And so, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
And then I built a regimen that was based off of like getting
healed. So as
healed.
long as it's not completely separate.
If it's fully
just a little
tore.
Tears and stuff that you can, and as you said, it was a more serious
it was a pretty severe tear, but it wasn't fully torn.
Yeah.
And so I just, at that particular point, I just went into, I did techniques, dry needling. I did a lot of dry needling, E-stem, and Graston was the worst. If you know what Graston technique is on a torn calf, he literally gave me a towel and he goes, "You're going to cry." And I was like, "No, I'm fine, man. This is Rocky style. I'm going to do it." And I'm like, so they get this little piece of metal like this and they put gel on it and they're scraping. Ooh. They're scraping a torn calf. So even the touch of a calf that's torn or a muscle that's torn, you're like, oh man, that's painful. And I am like, that was painful. But it breaks up the scar tissue. It helps rebuild and whatnot. And, within 40 days, I was back on a seated calf training my soleus again, which was not torn or hurt. And then I got into, a lot more soleus work as we were going. I was doing jumps, got my vert back up. I was doing performance stuff, climbing mountains and whatnot within 75 days.
Within 75 days.
Yeah,
That's crazy. What's your vertical? Because I needed you when I was like 16. Dude.
I know.
I needed you.
We didn't have it. We just had those like moon shoes, and we had like the different stuff we didn't know. So calves are only about 15% of your vert. So a lot of people think that it's more. It's a lot within the hip. It's a lot within the hip, glute, some quad there, and really building momentum through a jump. It's much like I was a long jumper too, and the mechanics are a little bit different in long jumping than straight vert, but you're doing a lot of work that is really like the best way of jumping better is reenacting a jump over and over and over again. And then using weights where you're doing either weighted vest stuff or you're doing squat stuff or you're doing whatnot that you're really, you're coming off of a box, for instance, and then coming up on a jump right after off of a box. So that impact to then straight up, you can bounding, any of that stuff that's really going to work the hips and the glutes to be able to have explosive jumping. Because a lot of the guys that have super crazy hops, they don't have gigantic calves,
right?
But they have so much momentum off of the floor, where they're just
from
leaping
repetition
out.
of the movement.
Correct, and building as much force going to that rim as possible too. So you'll watch their mechanics as they're doing a jump, and it's like if I'm only coming down this far opposed to even 20% further on my jump coming up, I'm coming out of the building when I even come down this much further. And some of that is like your hip flexor stability, your range of motion with that, how flexible are those and whatnot. And it all that comes together. It's like anything else, becoming the best bodybuilder, or you want to jump higher, you want to be a better athlete. You start looking at all the nerdy stuff. And again, I'm like, man, what if we knew this stuff at 16 or 18? Right. And a lot of these kids now do.
Yeah,
and it's why we're seeing
combo. No NIL and dumb coaches and trainers. Not dumb, man. No one knew. But man, what they have now is like, it's kind of dangerous to the point of like, man, how serious can it get? We were pretty serious, like obsessive then.
Well, we worked hard, but there was no like
We didn't have the distraction of the medias and all that
Yeah, we didn't have
stuff.
social media, though, which is another animal.
Yeah. Well, we went over, but I think, dude, we could keep going, I think, for like another couple hours even. There's so much more. Maybe we'll get you guys, that's what we need to do. We'll get you back on after the book launch.
Yeah.
After this January.
I'll have a physical, We
can like talk about what
happens.
And
you guys can come. You'll come. We're having a launch party on the 8th, so in Overland Park. So yeah,
on the 8th of
January.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Well, so how can people reach out to you? How do you work with people, like from whether it's content or working with you guys in the gym or what?
So hitchfit.com, that's our online, and then my name, just Micah Lacerte on social media. You can find me through there. Mr. Hitch Fit, if you're like, dude, I need to build bigger calves, Mr. Hitch Fit is the place. And then thebreakermission.com is where we're doing all the mission work in the book. So
love it.
Yeah, man.
Love it. Well, I want you to leave something with, we went deep. We went pretty deep. We went pretty.
Then we went real surface. We went calves.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love this. I can't wait for people to hear it. Is there anything else you want to leave with people?
I think for your viewers, I would just encourage you to, if you're really wanting to step into health in any sort of way and making that a priority, again, go back to your whys. Sit down with a piece of paper, get in front of a computer screen, and what are my whys? Do I want to be the best dad I want to be? Do I want to be a great spouse? Do I want to leave a impacting life for someone else, generational health and wealth? Like, create those whys that are so big that you'll show up even on the days you don't feel like it. And then really start looking at that schedule. Again, it doesn't have to be 3 a.m., but I encourage you to wake up a little bit earlier and carve out that time for yourself, much like you would for a Zoom meeting that you got to do or a leadership meeting that you have to do. Like, carve it out for yourself so you can be your best version for the people around you. And just choice by choice, day by day, try to make the best choices you can.
Love it. No, I think those are all great tips. Those are great action items to come out of here. So drop comments too. Let Micah know, how you're seeing with some of these things, if you take a hold of any of it. So appreciate you, dude. It was awesome.
Man.
Hey,
yes, sir.
It was awesome, dude. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet, brother.